Hey guys, Aaron here once again doing another toy review, and today, huge bunch. It's the Ultraman Dyna. What was it? It was a box set. I don't have the box, so I really can't remember the name that well. But it's a box set of 22 figures, mini figures, of course. Here's one starter in the back just to compare to it. It's a box set of 22 figures that was released to commemorate the first 12 episodes of Ultraman Dyna, and I was able to get all of them in like a little box set, new, but the box was thrown away because it was so old and worn, so yeah. But yeah, these figures are about 2 inches tall, and I'll review them all individually in this little collective video. So let's get started. First up, it's Drambia and Neo Drambia. Or Darambia, or Drambia, or whatever, however you like to say it. I call it Darambia. So we'll start with Drambia first. Scale really wasn't taken into consideration into this low box set. Drambia, it's 30 meters, and he's 65, so this obviously doesn't match up very well. But for such tiny figures, these guys have significantly well-made detail. 3 legs, tripod. There's the copyright, so yeah. And the eyes, it's open, so you can, in the laser shooting position. So it's a nice figure. When it came, it's supposed to be disassembled like this. You just peg the thing in, and voila. It has a standing issue, but it's not that big of a deal. It stands, it just doesn't look really natural. So yeah. History, he was the first monster created by Grand Sphere, and looked pretty powerful because he had a trans-dimensional barrier all around him except for his underside, his abdomen. His main reason was just to show how powerful Dyna was, because when Dyna transformed, the sheer amount of light that gave, from the transformation, just blew him apart and then, killed him. So, yeah, but his pieces transformed into Neo Drambia. So we'll get on to this guy at later jump review. Neo Drambia has 2 points. Both of these are disassembled when it came with it. Can be disassembled. This thing came attached, and it stands by itself. So you just peg in the tail. Right here, see a hole? Just peg that in and peg the head in. Yeah, so none of this is any color vinyl. It's just plain white vinyl with paint painted on it, which I thought was pretty cool. So detail, very large amount of detail, much better than the the Play Hero series or the DX Ultra Confrontation set. And those ones are not that good. They have posability and they're much bigger, but they're not as good as these little guys. Excuse me, I'm chewing gum again. History. After Drambia got blown to pieces on Mars, it transformed into him and gave Drambia a lot more abilities. For example, he originally could only shoot lasers from his mouth right here and have a barrier. Now he has like a hook arm. He can throw his arm like Scorpion's little hook thing, Mortal Kombat. He can shoot an energy beam from his mouth, which is closed at the moment. His arm can open to create like a to create like a shield and stuff like that. And later on, when you see Neo Drambia 2, he was black instead of brown, and he didn't have any of the previous abilities except his shield. He gained a new ability, which is he pawns on the ground. He looks like a bulldozer, and then he just bulldozes you. So that's pretty cool. So that's these two. We'll shove these two in the back. Next, it's the lava monster Giraylin. Now this is one of my favorite figures from the set because it just looks so good. I'll show you why. Here's the detail. Every single little, volcanic crater looking thing was sculpted on here. Here was the, mold release part. They cut that off so that they can sever it from the mold, and they actually sculpted a little crater in there, even though it was never punctuated. But the sheer amount of detail on this figure, I mean, this figure has a really good amount of skin texture that is cracked in the skin. So none of these figures have any points of articulation, just so you know. When it comes to tails disassembled, the tail is really loose on my, I don't know why. Usually just peg it in like this. And it fits pretty well. Yeah, this isn't as good as the HDM hyper detail molding ones or the HG core, but it's pretty good anyway. Greylin's history. After Grand Sphere was defeated on Mars, Grand Sphere escaped Earth. One of the spheres is called spheres, not Grand Sphere. The really big one at the end of the series was Grand Sphere. The normal ones are just called spheres. Grand Sphere escaped to Earth, where it merged itself with lava because it has a large amount of potential and kinetic energy in it to morph it into Greylin. Greylin was pretty powerful and forced Ultraman Dyna to transform into Miracle type for the first time and kill him. So yeah, you can read more about this stuff at Ultraman Wiki. I'll just make sure that I update the pages, because the World of Ultra pages and stuff like that, those are horrible. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. Next, Cyclometra. Now I'm not sure about Cyclometra's molding. In the film, he looked like his head looked kind of sorry, and now he looks like now his head looks like it's raised up. It just looks really weird. I know I think that's a tongue. I'm not sure if they had a tongue, but they're it really should have a little bit more paint detail. Otherwise, the detail on this thing is really nice. Every part of it is textured. There's no smooth parts on this little figure. Yeah. History. It came as a green egg from space. It looked like a comet. Crashed in a forest. There was 3 of them apparently. Asuka was told to collect some samples of this guy, but he actually opened fire on these guys and killed 2 of them. And they salvaged the corpse. This guy escaped and found one of my favorite Dyna monsters, Kuroshina, and revived him by crawling into his mouth. Later, when Kuroshina's body was no longer useful, it bursted out of Kuroshina and Dyna killed it with the Dyna screwball. That's that. Next, Kuroshina. Now this guy is one of my favorites for another reason. Besides the head that's being smooth, every part of him is cracked. There's tons of detail. That's why I like these figures. These figures are apparently more detailed than the vinyl figures, even though they are made of vinyl themselves. So you can see all that rich detail on this guy. Yeah, even that they got the tail right. It looks like a worm out of this tail. So yeah, it's a really nice figure. Really nice looking. The only thing they got wrong on this figure, and they got wrong on some of the other figures too. Greylin, the paint job is not consistent. Some parts of it are missing paint. I'm not gonna repaint any of these because it's too rare. I don't want to spend like $8 per figure again. But with Kuroshina, they did something wrong. You see how the spots are brown on this one, and the arms are yellow? Yeah, that's wrong. These spots are supposed to be yellow, and the rest of the body are, besides the blue parts on the arms, those are correct, are supposed to be brown. So the arms and the body should be brown, but the spots should be yellow. So they, they made an inverse of the paint job, correct paint job. So yeah, that's Kuroshina. Next, we get Daigaran. Now you probably all seen my review on the Bandai Daigaran, and I have to say, after doing more research for a few years, I found out that one actually didn't have the correct paint job. Daigaran, while it looked black from a distance, it was actually kind of this light brownish color with brown highlights. So this one actually got it right. Detail, I had a knockoff of this guy. I got it a few years ago, and I repainted it because it looked horrible. Because it was like yellow with like green and red and blue blotches everywhere. But this one actually looks really good. Everything is crisp. The tail's a little sharp, and they got the tail curve right. The tail curves unnaturally like this on the suit, and it curves like that in this figure. And that's what I like about these figures. They got tail length right. Just something forgot. Groshina, when it comes, the tail is detached, so you can connect it. Just that. Daigaran, the tail is a little too short on the Bandai figure, but that's not a big complaint. I mean, they obviously can't spend too much money on this stuff. So here's the piece that is, that is separate from Daigaran when you first get him. So there's the back. He stands pretty well without it, which is why my imitation is with a tail. So you can just peg it on like that. Voila. Let's push everything towards the center a bit. There we go. Next figure, Sildron. Now, after getting this little guy, I'm seriously reconsidering if I should pick up a Bandai Sildron instead of the clone one. My clone one broke, so I'm seriously considering picking up another one. That might break on me. So, yeah, nice detail. It's got the better colors, I have to say. It looks more like an insect this way. After all, his subtitle is what was it? Mutant insect. Yeah, I think it was that. The real color is brown, but they use like a really dark, green on this figure. Sildron separates into two parts: the tail and the back. But yeah, it looks better in my taste, and there's a hefty amount of detail went into making this figure. So you can see on the detail under. Yeah, look at that. Something obvious. The only thing that's wrong with this figure is that they didn't bother coloring the silver spots, the silver dots on his head and his little danger predicting sensor. That's what they called it. But yeah, see right there. But it's no big deal. It's just a small little figure for you to display or something like that. Show how much of a fan you are of Ultraman Dyna. So next, going to episode 6. So just to give you a basic sense, these two are episode 1. These two are episode 2. The two of them, Neodorambia and Graylin. Episode 3 people, which are Groshina and Cyclometra. Episode 4, which is Daigaran, and episode 5, which is Clone Sildron. Episode 6, I'm having some difficulty remembering what it was, but I think, yeah, I remember now. So, I'll get out the Monster Forgas and the Kaijin Forgas, when he took a human form just to communicate with people. So let's start with the human form because it appeared first anyway. Now the human form, I'm using one of these little stands that came attached. These stands are not really well made, but it suits its purpose. Frogas is a very simple figure. It's really smooth on every single side. It wasn't that complicated to begin with. It was just basically like a rehash of the Alien Muzan suit with the same mouth and the same eyes, except different head pattern. It could use some more paint. For example, they didn't bother coloring the tie and the little white shirt inside, and they didn't bother coloring the hands, which are supposed to be the same color as the head. But it looks fine otherwise. Yeah, this is a great idea for me to consider if I'm ever gonna celebrate Halloween again. Yeah. So that's Frogas as Kaijin. And now it's Frogas monster form. Kaijin didn't have any parts that are separate, but this guy has the most parts that are separate out of all of this set. So here's the main body, and here's the 4 tentacles. They're all molded differently, so you can't intermatch, so mix and match them. But yeah, they'll work for what they are. Let me just try and, you know, peg the things back. Is that it? I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. You just peg all the, you know, you see holes right here? Man, it's really getting annoying every time I use my hands to shield this thing. You know, you see all these holes? You know, you just peg them in by the holes. And you get yourself a Forgas. I used to think they're called Frogas, but I found that was like a spelling error for me. So they're actually called Forgas. Detail on this guy is pretty much moderate, considering, you know, how they've done with other ones. It really looks like a mushroom. Let's just say that first of all. The back could have been done better. I mean, you know, they can't obviously individually sculpt them, but it looks like a yellow blob. The two top mushrooms look good, and the eye looks really nice as well. It has a shine to it. So yeah, this guy's really accurate. Yeah, this is a great set. You know, I definitely recommend people picking it up, but not for more than, you know, 40 bucks. Not more than 40 bucks. So next we go to the 3 stages of Gaibish. Child, immature, and adult. Well, you know, some people, you know, think of this as, you know, the Ultraman answer to, you know, the Cell from, you know, Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, they call this, you know, Cell, imperfect Cell, and perfect Cell. So, in other words, Gaibish, imperfect Gaibish, and perfect Gaibish. But no, it's not called that. It's just called juvenile, you know, or, you know, child or juvenile. I don't know how to translate it, but it sort of translates to, you know, teen. You know, any other word would suit it better. And adult. So, yeah, let's get on to Child Gaibish first. Now, Child Gaibish has no parts to it. It's this big solid plastic statue, but it's really well done. They got the you know, the little silver pinpoints right, and it looks really cute. You know, that's, you know, one of the big factors to Gaibish, because he tricks people to thinking that he's cute and he's harmless, but actually he's a very violent space monster. I don't know if it's a he or a she. I really don't care either. Next, let's get on to, I'm just going to call it Imperfect for this review, Imperfect Gaibish. Imperfect Gaibish, obviously, when compared to the, you know, the original Gaibish, has a lot of similarities, but it's really changing. Eyes are red, there's like black spurting, there's really little pink, and there's, you know, this color that's been sprouting a lot on the Gaibish figures. All the furs are sculpted in really nicely on both of them. Give me a sec, let the camera focus. The mouth is closed, and we really didn't get to see, you know, how tall this guy was. So yeah, I can't really compare to anything. Next, we go on to the final adult Gaibish, and this one has a mouth open. The teeth are colored in, you know, relatively immaturely. It looks like, you know, it doesn't look too good. But, yeah, it's a really nice representation of, perfect or adult Gaibish, tail and everything. I didn't bother explaining the history for, Daigaron and, Sildron, because, I made separate reviews of, you know, Clone Sildron and, Daigaron. But if I, you know, missed the history on anything, I'll probably just, you know, post it if I get the real Sildron. So, but, let's just go back to Frogas. Frogas was, you know, a mushroom that came from space. Well, not from space. It was originally on the planet anyway. It wanted to conquer the planet and turn into a single multicellular creature. Unfortunately, he was stopped and everything like that. Gaibish was a monster that was hunted by alien Dias, who saw the monsters, you know, kill his daughter and everything, and you know, stuff like that. So he was gonna just throw them into the black hole, but two of them escaped. One was killed after, you know, Dias landed, and the other one was, you know, escaped and transformed. So yeah. Now both Imperfect Gaibish and Perfect Gaibish have, you know, these tails, and they have the exact same studs on the end. So if you want to get creative with this stuff, like me, you can just plug, you know, the Imperfect Gaibish's tail into Perfect Gaibish. Looks like that. It also works vice versa. Just plug it in. Now it looks really awkward like that because it's not meant for it. But this one actually looks okay, so yeah, you know. It's a little factual tidbit that people are like, that's, you know, I'm not sure if if you bother to know or not. But you know, it's certainly pretty interesting for the franchise. Next, episode 8. Now, episode 8, I got Baoan. I'm not gonna explain his history because I'm gonna review his 6-inch figure. But you know, there are some parts of this Baoan figure that got it right, and some parts of of it that got it wrong. The tail is a huge pain in the butt. It leans out too much. The tail, it doesn't allow Baoan to stand. He's always leaning. You see that? He's still got that peace sign on his fingers. The paint job is not as accurate on this one, but they got these things right. These little antenna things. Yeah, the back ones are still not incorrect, but the ears are at least correct. But this one looks much more cute than the other one, which looks really excited. This one looks really dull, and he looks really dumb, and he's supposed to look really dumb. So yeah, that's Baoan. By the way, Baoan has great detail. So that's Baoan. And next, episode 9, Gigard and Gigard pieces. We'll first start with Gigard because Gigard appeared first. Gigard was a monster that appeared after a thunderbolt struck a weird pattern on the ground that that was explained to have awoken the Earth conscious. So it was like Earth was sleeping all this time and suddenly awoken and sent out Gigard to consume electricity. They said it was to punish humans because they were using way too much electricity, and yeah, it was blown up by Super Guts. Unfortunately, with the help of Ultraman Dyna at the beginning of the episode, but it turns out that Gigard has the ability to every piece of itself that breaks down can turn into another monster of its own, which leads to this guy. They can also morph back together into Gigard if it's needed. So that's Gigard. Gigard's history. It's got some paint scuffs because I like this figure a lot and play with it. But it's a nice figure. They even got the antenna right. The antenna are supposed to they look like short. They look like broken electrical wires, and that's how it's supposed to look like. The back is completely blank though. That's the problem with the toy line. Sometimes the paint job doesn't stretch far enough. So that's Gigard. Next we go to Gigard's split form. Gigard's split form stands bipedal and doesn't need a stand, fortunately. It looks really nice. It looks like a Gigard clone. That's how he looks like this in the episode. He's really smooth and everything, but I really like him. I really like the design of the Gigard clones. Alright, episode 10. First off, we'll go look at Zinda Karojin. I'm gonna have to use a stand for this guy because he just wouldn't want to stand on his phone. Zinda Karojin was an alien race that originally conquered planet Earth during the prehistoric times. They used 3 monsters. One's called Dexador, the other 2 were never known, and they sealed them into ground paintings like the the Nazca, like the things from Nazca, So one day, some archaeologists discovered their clone machine where they can use like a single gene to recreate like an army, clone them. So he accidentally revived 3 of them, and they were gonna use Dexador and the other monsters to destroy Earth and take over Earth again, but was foiled by Dyna. So, and Super Guts, of course, Super Guts. Now this is the Zinda Karojin that was controlling Dexador. There were 2 others, and they were dressed differently, so you can tell them apart. It's really nicely detailed, except the head doesn't look that good. When this guy reappeared in episode 47, he walked like a zombie for some reason, so I don't understand why though. So that's Zinda Karojin. Now give me a second, I'm gonna open the door. So yeah, that's Zinda Karojin. Next is obviously the big piece, Dexador. Dexador has a standing problem, so he doesn't want to stand. Probably because of the wings on his back though. So I'll just have him stand like this. Dexador is the biggest piece of this set and has beautifully intricate detail. You know, every little feather on this guy, it's individually sculpted. So that looks really beautiful. And these golden feathers. Looks like kind of a bird. The other two Nazca monsters were destroyed before they could be formed. Dexador was also destroyed, but through the combined willpower of the three Zinda Karojins, Dexador was revived and attacked. Paint job is accurate, and yeah, it's a really nice figure, and it's the biggest one of this set. So hooray! Just get something to support it later on. Sometimes, here's what I usually do. I take two of these stands and I shove both of them onto his legs like this. Just to, weigh his legs down and make it easier for him to stand. For example, after I do this, see that? And now he kind of stands. It's still a little wobbly at times, but, it works. So that's really all that matters. Next, episode 11, obviously our favorites return. Hanejiro. Hanejiro, it's my favorite little figure of the set. And he looks more beautiful than the Bandai one. The Bandai one kind of looked ugly because the fur over here wasn't, organized into this little square patch. So he looks more like a cute bunny now. His ears, the inside should be pink. But I'm guessing that they didn't have pink paint back then, or something else. But then how do you explain Guardy? So I really don't know why they chose white for the inner right there. So, yeah. Blue eyes, and no coloring of the mouth. So, but it's a nice figure, all the furs are sculpted in. So that's that. We'll skip Monsarger for now, because there's going to be a comparison with the two later on. Well, actually, let's get down to Monsarger anyway. Monsarger. Here's one of my less favorite figures of this set. Monsarger looks accurate to the Sleeping Time suit, but I like the Bandai figure better. The face looks, atrocious on this guy. Here's what I mean. I mean, look at that face. That looks horrible. I mean, here's the Bandai versions. Yeah, that's kind of different. It's probably because there's more paint detail, but I think this one's obviously sculpted better than the little minifigure. But, it's a nice figure nevertheless. And the other thing is I don't like the pose. The pose looks like, he's saying like, what? Or give me money, something like that. It's something weird like that. It doesn't suit Monsarger that well. That's what I'm trying to say. So, next, let's get on to the two forms of alien Himara, or Himala. I call him Himala though. Or Shimala. One of the three. We'll just call him Himara for this review. Himara in human form and Himara giant. Let's get on to human form first. Human form, I like the figure. The feet has heels for some reason, so it leans forward a bit, but it actually serves a really good, does a really good job of counterbalancing this, giant plastic cape. The figure isn't made of it's painted with very, very, metallic blue, which doesn't make any sense because this one is not. But still looks nice, it looks like Himara, that's the point, and yeah. So I'll put him in the center, just because there's someone else coming. Oh, what the heck. Next, Yulia and Himara, giant size. This figure is really bland, there's only one piece that separates. Honey Jiro's tail can come off, and so does Monsarga's. That's something I forgot to add. The back of the skate comes off. I don't know why they made it a separate piece though. I don't know if I picked that back. No, I didn't pick that upside down. So, but yeah, it looks really nice. Looks pretty imposing with that pose of his. So yeah. Finally, to the last figure of this set. He's supreme. He's supreme. I'm warning you. He's supreme. It's Ultraman Dyna. Flash type. Yeah, there was a miracle type figure and the strong type figure released with 2 other box sets for episodes. What was it? 13 through 31 and 32 through 49. But those 2 were, somehow the marketing geniuses over there at Bandai decided to make those 2 hyper hobby exclusive, but they didn't make the Tiga ones like that. So, what the hell. He's in the Soden Ray pose, but with a little bit of modification, you can make him, go into the new Soden Ray or Specium Ray. Specium Ray kind of looks like this better. Yeah. They are sculpted in little, niches for the arms to fit in. Both of these arms can come off. That's fortunate. Now just let me take the arm off. There is some articulation. This arm rotates a little bit, but there's another niche right here. This figure is hollow on the inside, so it's definitely not as good as the HDM figures, which are made of rock solid plastic. But it looks good with this set. It works. For example, you can have Dyna, Soden Ray, all these guys at the same time, and of course he's not gonna make it. But yeah, it looks good. So that's all that really matters. And so that's a little box set. For 22 figures, and for like a nifty price of, I remember when it was first sold, it was sold for like $20 here in the US, or 40 something. It's worth it. There's like monster data on the back of the box, but since I don't have the box, then I bought this set for much cheaper. Oh wow, it's definitely a worthy set to have, and if you have like a ton of minifigures, it just spares you the painfulness of trying to spend like $20 per figure trying to collect these giant guys. So yeah. Overall, for like a box set rating, content I give it a 5 out of 5. Articulation I give 0 because there is no articulation, but they didn't advertise articulation anyway. And everything, blah 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 blah. But in the end, I give it a straight 5 out of 5. The set is amazingly good, cool. It's everything that you'll ever need for the future. And if you're lucky enough to get your hand on the Hyper Hobby sets, let me just congratulate you right now and say that you really put some dedication to toys. But since I don't have like a Hyper Hobby account for like their mail and their magazine and everything, I'm guessing that this is the only set I'll ever be able to get. So yeah. So this is Yaya Knight signing out.